Japan has entered the G20 with one huge item on its agenda: investment into Africa, looking at infrastructure, looking at partnerships with the African continent. I spoke to Japan's Foreign Press Secretary, Toshihiro KITAMURA, and asked the press secretary, what does this mean for South Africa and the continent as a whole? Here's that conversation.
Before answering to your questions, I'd like to extend my congratulations to South Africa for hosting the first ever G20 Summit in Africa here in Johannesburg. And for our Prime Minister, Japanese Prime Minister Takaichi Sanae, she took office just 1 month ago. So this is very good occasion for her to meet with world leaders and discuss the global economy, global challenge, and international situations. So we are very happy to attend this honorable first ever meeting in here, South Africa.
It's great to have you here. Now, getting back to that, I mean, South Africa hosting the G20, what's the significance of that? Also talking about infrastructure as well, a resilient infrastructure.
Mhm. So as I said, so this is very first ever G20 summit held in South Africa. And I think that South Africa as a presidency set up 4 priority areas, namely disaster resilience and responses. The second is debt sustainability. The third is energy transition. The fourth is critical mineral. And we consider that all of these 4 areas are quite important, and Japan put the emphasis to promoting the cooperation in these 4 areas, especially as for the disaster prevention. Since we are suffering from many natural disasters every year, we have a rich experience and knowledge to address those things. So that is one of the strengths of Japan, and we can contribute to the discussions of the G20. As for the infrastructure development, yes, we have a long history of cooperation to providing our assistance in developing infrastructure in developing countries. But at the same time, we consider that infrastructure development should be, how can I say, keep the quality of. So instead of having to spend many money for, how can I say, gaspillage in French word, we think that wasting. We think that we should establish or construct the infrastructure which is valuable in both economically and financially. So in this context, Japan, within G20 framework, we have been promoting the so-called G20 principle for quality infrastructure investment since 2019. So we will work together with other G20 member in promote this quality infrastructure investment.
Right, now from infrastructure to renewable energy as well. I know Japan has been involved in that. I mean, Japan's recent commitment to supporting South Africa's renewable energy sector. What is your role as Japan in South Africa's projects and also Africa as a broader project?
Before answering questions, once again, sorry, I would like make a propaganda about Japanese diplomacy toward Africa. So just after Cold War II, just after the end of Cold War, we have launched the Tokyo International Conference on African Development in 1993. So this is the initiative taken by Japanese government, but this is in collaboration with other international organizations such as United Nations, UNDP, and World Bank, and African Union Commission. And the most important notion of this ticket is the ownership of the African countries and partnership of the international community. So based on these 2 notions, we are now working together with Africa in order to address the challenge that the international community are facing. And this year, in August, in Yokohama, Japan, we have held the 9th round of TICAD summit meeting, to which President Ramaphosa kindly attended. And we have discussed many issues covering infrastructure issues and energy issues and other important issues such as digital or AI. As for the energy transition issues, yes, it is quite important for both countries, for Japan and for South Africa and other African countries. And in this context, we have been providing our assistance to the Development Bank of Southern Africa in order to support their transition to renewable energy. And we are now considering to provide another assistance to, once again, to South Africa in collaboration with other uh, international financial mechanisms to address, to realize a reform of this energy sector.
Other priority sectors for Japan's expanding its investments into South Africa and Africa as well. I know that our Deputy President, Paul Mashatile, came to visit your country not so long ago. What are your other priority areas?
With uh, as, as for the relationship between Japan and South Africa, we consider that South Africa is a kind of key pillar or cornerstone of Japanese diplomacy toward Africa. And as you may know, Japan is the sixth largest trading partner for South Africa. And here, South Africa, this is a, how can I say, base for Japanese company. So we have now more than 250 Japanese company operating here. And this is the biggest number in African continent. And they are working in the wide range of sector, including critical mineral, energy, and food and security as well. So based on that, we would like to promote or deepen further economic cooperation with South Africa.
Right, now, how can Japanese technology and financing tools expertise, how can they support Africa's renewable energy ambitions across generations, storage, transmission? Talking about Japanese technology, it's the finest in the world. How can you support our expertise in helping us?
I think Africa has a great potential in promoting renewable energy and generation of production of green hydrogen, thanks to its abundant solar, wind, and geothermal energies. So based on that, we would like to promote the transition of energy of African countries, especially in South Africa. And we have the technology in promoting those things, since we are very poor in terms of natural resources. So we need obliged to we should utilize the technology in order to create more efficiency in power generation. In this context, I'd like to introduce our initiative in Asia. We have launched a so-called Asia Zero Emission Community Initiative. We call that the AZEC initiative, in order to realize the energy security, decarbonization, economic growth simultaneously without sacrificing economic growth. And we believe that that should be realized through various pathways without taking into account each country's circumstances. So that will apply to Africa as well.
On that note, practical bankable steps Africa and the G20 should prioritize after the summit to unlock the real world investment. I mean, what happens next?
I think we know that South Africa is the largest industrial nations in African continent, but at the same time, there is some challenges, including stable supply, energy supply, or human resource development. So we have to address those things. At the same time, some Japanese company have the issues in investing in this country. For example, there is no transparency and efficiency when we apply investment, or we need more expedited the issuance of visa. So if we can clear those things, much more investment from Japan will be promoted. And and at the same time, since your country or Africa is in the process of growing economically rapidly, we should promote those things by utilizing the private sector financing and also mobilizing domestic resources as for the private sector financing, we Japanese government has the organization to promote international cooperation, which name is Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA. So we have expanded JICA's financial instrument to address those things. For example, because of the change of the legislation, we can now JICA now acquire the bond of the enterprises in developing countries, and they also can provide the credit guarantee to those companies. That will also facilitate the investment toward South Africa. And another thing, domestic mobilization of the domestic resources is also important. And we are now ready to host the international conference in Tokyo to address that capacity building issues of domestic resource.
Billions of dollars being poured into renewable energy, into climate finance, and that's been the big buzzword. How will countries increase their renewable energy? Well, one country that's done that, in fact, up to 70% of their energy is renewable, and that's Germany. And I chatted to Germany's ambassador to South Africa, Andreas Peschke, earlier on to ask him about that and what countries like South Africa and others should be doing.
Energy is a big part of our bilateral cooperation, also within the framework of multilateral cooperation. I mean, it's been discussed here at the G20. It has been discussed in Belém at the Climate Summit. And then, South Africa partnered with international partners to cooperate on the energy front. So we cooperate quite a lot and support each other, to manage this energy transitions towards a modern energy supply, modern sources of energy, a little bit away from the fossil fuels as well. And first, we have invested around 50 billion rand in this cooperation. So that shows our commitment to this cooperation. That's number one. Number two, in terms of lessons, I think you need to have both. You need to have urgency because it's an urgent issue to tackle climate change and so on. But on the other hand, you also need to have patience. So you need to take it step by step. It's not a process you can do overnight. You have to really prepare it, take it step by step, be patient, and leaving nobody behind, managing also the social aspects of it.
See, that was the whole big thing that we've all picked up on. No country will be left behind. Is that realistic? I mean, Indonesia, they were talking about it saying, don't leave us behind. Is it realistic? Is there a common goal now to say, we G20, we all members, the partners as well, other people who are guest members, are we there? Are we not going to leave anyone behind?
Number two in the declaration is Ubuntu. And I think it gives a special African flavor to the declaration. I like it a lot. It's a reminder to all of us of the necessity of multilateralism. And I think the cooperation between countries is about solidarity. Also the big themes of the South African presidency, solidarity, equality, sustainability. And I think, it's easy to talk in terms of I first, of putting your own country first, forgetting about others because you have a responsibility towards your own taxpayers and so on. But I think at the end of the day, we need this cooperation and we need all of us to succeed, for each of us to succeed. So actually, it's not even an issue to leave anybody behind. We need every member of the international community to an extent to succeed, for all of us to succeed. So that's quite important. And maybe that is also one of the big points of the South African presidency, that they have reconfirmed that principle in international cooperation. And so that's also a good sign that so many leaders here around the table concur.
I like that. And just a final question. Trade relations between Germany and South Africa are great, but what about when it goes down to small business? I mean, there are a lot of other deals happening here. It's not all about heads of state. It's about trade.
It's very much about trade. Maybe not so much here at the summit, but this week we have just had the so-called B20, the Business 20, which is under the umbrella of the G20, a leading of business leaders and association from around the world. We had a strong German business delegation. I met them, I think the day before yesterday, or 2 days before, Laura. And they were here, and there were a lot of interactions between captains of industry from South Africa, from all over the world, with our captains of industry. And I think, to prop up a solid relationship is actually prop up business ties as well. And then not only big companies, because the backbone of our industry in Germany is small and medium-sized companies. So we actually want to encourage small and medium-sized companies from South Africa and from Germany to cooperate. And that brings us, of course, to the question of investment conditions, which is an issue we have to look at here in South Africa, in Germany, all over the world. So this is quite important, but it's rightly you raise it because actually that is what makes the relationship.
And that concludes our final episode of Road to G20. Historic decisions, defining moments right here in Johannesburg. For me, Ray White. Until next time.